Okay, here we go. I want to go back. Go back to page 938 for a second. There's a Shia. We'll be here in case you need us. There's a wise and wonderful Jew in Lakewood named Rabbi Avram Shor, who is a very, very, very interesting, very fine person. And he called me up yesterday to tell me something. He was listening to the debate. He told me something about the Parsha. Remarkable idea, which he even sent me a copy. You've heard of the Sfas Emes, the famous Sfas Emes. His father-in-law was somebody called. He wrote a sefer. So he says the following: a remarkable idea, really remarkable idea. He says like this: take a look in Rashi. It's on the left side, left column of Rashi. Pasuk Gimel. Ehi ber boim shana. Take a look at that Rashi for a second. So Rashi here points out why Moshe Rabbeinu waited till the end. If you remember, we said yesterday, Moshe Rabbeinu waited till the end, and Rashi says like this, Melamed, 8 lines from the bottom. Melamed shelo hochichan ala samuch lamisa. Moshe Rabbeinu only rebuked the Jewish people close to death. Mimi lamad, who did Moshe Rabbeinu learn this from? Where did he learn this technique? Says Rashi, Mi Yaakov. Yaakov also rebuked, remember the first 3 sons, Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, they got a rebuke from Yaakovino. That was only close to death. Why? Omar, he said like this, Reuven benim, Reuven my son, Ani omer lecha, mipnei ma omer, miloach achticha kol hashonim halalu. Why did I not rebuke you before this? Why did Yaakov wait to rebuke Reuven before he died? Shalot tanicheni, that you shouldn't forsake me, v'telech v'tidbak be'esav achi, and then you go join up with Esav, my brother. Now what Rashi sounds like, it's a Moshe Rabbeinu learned this technique from Yaakov. I don't want, if I give him a rebuke earlier, maybe they'll all just abandon me. But, so he pointed out, this Rabbi Shor pointed out, based on the Sefer, that I understand Reuven was a tzaddik. At the end of the day, he was a tzaddik. What happened? What's Yaakov worried about? He's going to rebuke Reuven, and because he rebuked Reuven, he's going to turn around and he's going to join forces with Esav, just like that? Just like that's going to turn around? It's a great question. And if he does, so what does it help to do it before he dies? So before he dies, so what? So he'll die, so he'll also go join Esav. And what did you gain? And what are you worried about? Reuven's going to, one thing, I said something to you, and therefore all of a sudden, you're off there. He's off the derech now. He's joining Reuven. OTD. I mean, just like that. God said, I understand kids go off the derech because something happened. You had a problem with the teacher. You had a problem with your parents. The parents for a long time been torturing you. All sorts of, I had a guy here once who said to his father, the kid was off the derech. He said, I asked him about the background. He said, well, he once said among other things, he once said to his father, Dad, I think you have a drinking problem. So his father decked him. Which means he had a drinking problem. Yeah. That's when you deck people. That's when you deck people. I told you, in my house, if I said, Dad, we got a drinking problem, that means Pepsi wasn't on sale for 99 cents a carton. That's what and my father agreed, yes, we have a drinking problem. Let's go look for the coupons. That was how things worked. I want to tell you something, when I played at the JCC, I used to play ball at the JCC in Chicago. Twice I saw a fight, almost fight. Twice a fist went up. Both times was when a guy was accused, guys are running around the court and says, hey, Rick, you aren't speed. He says, you shut up. The fist went up, which means he was on speed. Yeah. Now, I had been smoking cigarettes for a while, and then I quit. I had been off for about 3 weeks, and we were playing ball, and I was jumping around all over the place like a jackrabbit. One of the guys said to me, Kaplan, are you on speed? I said, wow, you really think so? I was flattered. That was the biggest compliment. Because I wasn't. So when the guy, when he said to his father, Dad, you think you have a drinking problem, the fist went up. His father decked him. The kid told me, okay, so I understand a kid like that might be punched straight out of Yiddishkeit. But Reuven, you're worried about Reuven going off and joining Esav? So listen to this brilliant explanation. What was Esav's one merit that he had? Well, being the son of Isaac was a fact. He respected his parents. He did everything for his father. But why was Esav doing it for his father? Esau was doing it for his father to find favor in his father's eyes. What Yaakov is worried about Reuven joining Esau means, Reuven, if I give you rebuke, I'm worried that you're going to then turn around and you're going to do what I want to do because you want to please me. But a tzaddik at Reuven's level, that's shalol lishma. That's not the perfect motivation. You shouldn't be doing it because you want to please dad. You should do it because that's what Hashem wants you to do, the ultimate motivation. So Yaakov was saying to Reuven, had I given you rebuke before this point, then what you do from subsequently may only be to please me. And I expect more from you. Therefore, the rebuke is only before he dies. The rebuke is only before he dies, because once Yaakov says, once I die, you're certainly not going to be doing what you're doing to please me. And that's how you should always be doing it. And we talk about Reuven at Reuven's level. Now, having said that, we know that if a person finds ulterior motivation for Torah and mitzvahs, it's perfectly okay. And not only that, the Gemara says, "La'olam yasok adam b'Torah mitzvah shelo lishma." You should involve yourself, even if it's not with perfect motivation, with ulterior motivation. Shemitoch shelo lishma ba lishma, because that not perfect motivation will bring you to having a higher level of motivation. And Rav Chaim Volozhiner says, at our level, we should find an ulterior motivation, because we're not altruistic enough to serve God just because that's the mitzvah. That'll last for a couple of days. We need to find an ulterior motivation. So for example, let's say you want to do chesed, because if you do chesed, people are going to say, ooh, what a tzaddik, what a nice man, what a wonderful, that's great, that's great, do it, that's fine, do the chesed, let's do the chesed. Let's say you want to study Torah, because people say, ooh, what a scholar, oh, that's great. The Gemara says a person is allowed to study Torah because it's going to make him rich. Still trying to figure that one out. Maybe just haven't studied enough Torah, but still trying to work that one out. But if a person says that's his ulterior motivation, he wants to study Torah so people will call him rabbi, that's fine, that's perfect. The only motivation that's not acceptable is if you study Torah in order to make other people feel bad. I know it and you don't. Or to show people they're wrong. Then the Gemara says, better person who learns Torah in order to make other people better, he shouldn't have been born. Wow. Yeah, that's fighting man's words. Yeah, that's pretty bad. So Reuven, at his level, Yaakov expects perfect motivation from him. That's what he said. That's beautiful, unbelievable shot, right? Okay. Now, take a look at Pasuk Hey. This is where we got to yesterday. And I want to show you again. Meir, this is for you. Be'ever hayarden be'eretz Moav, ho'il Moshe be'er es haTorah hazos lebar. Third line from the top. On the other side of the Jordan River, in the land of Moab, Moshe began clarifying this Torah. We said yesterday about how it was, how it was 70 levels, 70 different languages. We talked about language and depth of Torah. We spoke about that yesterday. Now, when I say a question, you've learned the Gemara, and sometimes the Gemara says teku. Right? You ever got the teku? That means they have an argument in the Gemara. The Gemara says teku. Tie. It's a tie. In modern Hebrew, that's what they use it. A tie is called teku. In modern Hebrew, in the soccer games, it's teku efes. That means there was nothing tie. Right? Teku. What does it mean in the Gemara when the Gemara says teku? We don't have an answer. So, but what does the word teku actually mean? What does the word teku literally mean? So, I was taught in day school, tekus is an acronym. It stands for Tishbi, which is Eliyahu Hanavi. He came from a place called Toshav. Tishbi, Yetaretz, Kushios, V'ibayos. Eliyahu will resolve our differences. When Eliyahu Hanavi comes, when the Mashiach comes, Eliyahu will answer. That's what it stands for. Now, that is not what the word means. The word teku literally means let it stand. Teku. Let it stand. There's an argument. It stands. We don't have it resolved. Okay, the argument stands. Teku. In the future, Eliyahu will answer our questions. And so there are those that say that that's what the Maharal, you've heard of the Maharal Miprag? So the Maharal Miprag, the famous Maharal, made the Golem. And the Maharal made the Golem, whatever. So he had an older brother who was also a massive scholar. And in his Sefer, he writes that that's what Teku stands for. Tishbi, Yataret, that Eliyahu Hanavi is going to come. Now, take a look at this pasuk again, gentlemen. It's very cute. It says, on the other side of the Jordan, Moshe started clarifying the Torah. Ho'il Moshe be'er es Torah. We'll look carefully at the word ho'il, gentlemen. Fourth line. Ho'il Moshe. How does the article translate the word ho'il? Moshe began explaining. No, be'er is explaining. Be'er, by the way, be'er explaining is like the word be'er, which is a well. That means Moshe Rabbeinu was an overflowing well of Torah. Be'er, no coincidence that it bears water, and water is Torah. So Moshe is an overflowing well of Torah. But what is the word ho'il? Look at that word ho'il carefully, Mayor. What do you see in the word ho'il? If you rearrange the letters. Aleph, Lamed, Yud, Hey, Vav. What do you get? Aleph, Lamed, Yud, Eliyahu. Ho'il Moshe Be'er. Moshe is clarifying the Torah, and in the future, who's going to clarify it? Eliyahu. Eliyahu is going to be clarifying the Torah for us. There it is, right there. Another one of the coincidences that we find in Torah. So there's a very cute story. Rabbi Steinman, when you're one of the leading Torah scholars of the generation, you get all sorts of interesting people who come to see you. So Rabbi Steinman had a guy once who came to him, and he told him that he is Eliyahu HaNavi. Wow. I've met a couple myself, by the way, over the years. I've I think 2 Eliyahus and 1 Mashiach. And I know that the guys, and the joke is those guys can't be Eliyahu because I'm Eliyahu. That's the joke. That's the joke. I'm not Mashiach because I'm a Kohen, so I can't be Mashiach. I could be Eliyahu. You never know, will you? So what do you call it? So this guy comes to Rav Steinman. He says he's Eliyahu Navi. Now, what would you do? You're Rav Steinman. You're one of the Gedolei. What do you do if a guy comes in like the guy's absolutely off balance? What do you do? I'm Eliyahu Navi. So Rav Steinman. Yeah, that's what a lot of people would do. Rav Steinman said to him, some people would say, "Would you get out of here? I haven't got time for you. You got just go bother." Rav Steinman said to him, he says, "Wow, you're Eliyahu Navi. Wow. I've been waiting about 90 years to meet you." Because really? Because you see, the first Masechta we learned in Cheder was the next parak we're learning next month, Elu Metzias. The first chunk of Gemara in Elu Metzias that we're going to be learning, the Gemara ends with Teku. And Rav Steinman said, I've been waiting for you because I want to know, so how do we paskin over there? Because it ends with the Teku. The Eliyahu Navi is going to answer resolve. So you're Eliyahu Navi. How do we paskin? What is the conclusion of the Gemara? The guy goes, and out he went, and out he ran. Then Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal, he had a guy came to him and he said to Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, look, I'm Mashiach, and I would like that we should, nobody's going to accept it from me. I would like that you should, publicize it. So Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky said to him, the Gemara in Sanhedrin says that Mashiach is going to be arriving on a donkey that has 100 different colors. That's what the Gemara says. Whatever the statement means, the Mashiach's donkey is going to have 100 different colors. He said to the guy, do you have the donkey? So the guy says, no. He goes, get the donkey with 100 colors, then come back when you have the donkey, we'll decide what the next stage is. Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that brilliant? Instead of fighting, play the game, then that's it. There he goes. There he goes. So that's what the Torah is alluding to over here. Now, if you take a look at the bottom of the page, this is one of my, somebody asked me which parts of Torah you like. Remember we were talking about, I think, Eli, you asked me about that, about which parts of Torah do you like more than other. So I can't tell you that I like it more, but there's a pshat over here which I find personally is one of my favorites. It says like this, Hashem Elokei Avosechem Yosef Aleichem Kachem Elef Pabim. Hashem, your God, will increase you 1,000 times fold. Some say elef pa means 1,000 times 1,000, means 1,000,000-fold. V'vorech eschem kasher diber lachem, and he will bless you as he has spoken to you. Now, if you look, sorry, I skipped one pasuk. Back one page. Sorry, back to 940. I skipped one pasuk. Hashem Elokechem hirba eschem. Hashem has increased you. V'hinchem hayom kekochvei hashamayim lov. You are abundant like the stars of the sky. The problem is that they're not like the stars of the sky. And then he says Hashem will increase you 1,000,000-fold. The problem is, well, you're like the stars, but you're not quite like the stars, are you? You can't count the stars. So how do you, what do you call it? How could the Jewish people are abundant like this? So one of the ideas is that it's a reference to how many Jews there will be through history. I mean, think about how many Jews there have been through history of just ever since the time of Avram Avinu. There Jews have come, Jews have gone, generations have come and go. Well, you count all the generations, that's a lot of Jews. Then we're talking about massive, we're talking about billions and billions. And so that's the first idea, is it's also, we learned in the Gemara, Lashon Guzma, right? It may be a little bit of an exaggeration, a figure of speech. It will be like the stars. The difference is that we find other places that they're compared to the sand. The Jewish people are compared like the sand of the sea. So what does it mean to be compared to the stars? So one of the ideas is that you're sitting in a room with a bunch of other guys here. How much do you really know about the other person in the room? I know him from the dorm, I know him from the lunchroom, I know him from this. And it could be a guy you've been to school with your whole life. When do you really find out what a person is like? You know, unfortunately, when you hear about a person? When they die. You know, when they die. Then all of a sudden they come to the Shiva house and people tell stories. They say, oh yeah, he used to give me a ride every day in the snow. And then another guy says, yeah, he never missed a Daf Yomi shir for 25 years. And another guy says he supported 10 families that nobody knew about it. And all of a sudden you hear, whoa, I mean, this is just another guy in shul. Right? This is just a guy that I saw all the time in shul. And all of a sudden you find out he did this and he accomplished this and he studied this and he did this and he helped an old lady cross the street every day. And then I visited an old age home. All the things you find out about a person. Why am I bringing that up? There is a remarkable medrash. The medrash says, I've mentioned this several times in the past, the medrash says the two most powerful emperors in the world, one was Paro and one was King Nebuchadnezzar. Now the medrash says, the Gemara says, you know how tall Paro was? No. He was 1 amma tall. He was 1 amma tall. An amma is about 18 inches. It's not very tall. He was 1 amma tall. Somebody once asked me, well, if Moshe Rabbeinu was 10 amos tall, and Paro was 1 amma tall, so why didn't you just step on him? You're not leaving. Oh yeah, watch this car runch. Okay. So what does that mean? So and then there's another. That's the Gemara. There's a medrash that says King Nebuchadnezzar was as tall as a jug. A jug that you pour water out of. How tall is a jug? And, he's a jug. He's an amma and he's a jug. They had great games of one-on-one. So in order to be a dictator, an emperor in the ancient world, on your resume, you had to put down that you could walk under this table without bending your knees. Well, what does that mean? What a coincidence. The two most powerful, cruel despots in history, each one came up to my knee? Well, yeah, they were able to bite people in their shins. That's right, when they weren't ready for it. That's how they got that. Well, what does that mean? So I didn't understand what it meant until I heard there was a certain person who became a Baal Tshuva. And this person was involved with all sorts of celebrities. He was involved in film and celebrities. He met all sorts of names that I've only heard about and watched and seen on TV and bought their records. He met these people, and he said when he got married, he said that when you meet these people, he said you hear about these people, they're world famous people, really world famous. He says when you meet them up close, when you get to know them, he said they're very, very small people. That's when the coin dropped. Then I understood what the Gemara is telling us. You could be a Paro and you could be a Nebuchadnezzar. You're really a small person. You're a little person. You're on nothing, right? You make a fuss over little things and you're a baby. You're essentially a baby. The world sees you, wow, you're not a big celebrity, big star, big this, big that. And the people who know you probably can't stand you. The people up close probably can't stand you. They know what you're really like. What about a Jew? What would happen if you could spend a day, just one day with Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, from morning till night, but he had no night, right? So you could spend 24 hours with Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. Whatever you've heard about him would pale in comparison to what happens when you see him up close. That means the Jewish people are compared to stars because the star looks like a little dot. But if you really go up there, and you get closer and closer, theoretically, if you get close to a star, I don't know how long it would take you, but the nearest star is 3 million light years away, something like that. I'm sure they have a list of people who are ready to go on that trip. You know, they have this thing about people going, if to go to Mars would take, what is it, to go to Mars would take about 3 years or something, I forgot what it is. And they've got a long list of people already volunteering, you know, when they finally go to Mars. Yeah, they're the long list of people. So they had even the Challenger. You know, when the Challenger blew up, you know that they had 10,000 applications from school teachers across the country to go into the Challenger. But they pissed her, what's her name? Krista McAuliffe was the one who was chosen. There was a frum woman teacher in Baltimore who was on the application list. A frum woman teacher from a school. I hear an unbelievable story, just parenthetically. This woman, the day that the Challenger went up, millions of people watched the Challenger, it blew up, exploded. The next day she came into school and she's walking down the hallway and one of the kids in the school walks up to her, he says, Mrs. Ploney, the frum lady, Mrs. Ploney, I wish you would have been on the Challenger. So she looked at the kid and she didn't say anything. She said, I'm not going to react. And she kept walking. And the kid followed her. And he said, you know why I wish you'd be on the Challenger? And now she's ready to explain. She said, yeah, why? He goes, because you're such a wonderful person. If you would have been on the Challenger, it wouldn't have exploded. Right? So sometimes in life, don't jump to conclusions. You want to hear? I'll tell you a terrible story. You'll love it. There was a Rebbe in a cheder. There's a Rebbe in a cheder, and this Rebbe prided himself. He never came late to class ever. And one morning he got to get somewhere, drop off. His kid got stuck in traffic. He came to class 25 minutes late. And he walks into the classroom, and one of the kids, a fourth grader, one of the kids, as he walks in, the kid goes like this to him. To the Rebbe. So he just turned around and he slapped the kid across the face. So the kid sits down at his desk and starts crying. At the lunch break, the kid's mother came to the school. Careful when mothers come. So the mother says, she gets the Rebbe, she says, my son called up, he was crying. He said, you slapped him across the face. Why did you slap him? He said, in all my years as a Rebbe, I knew I was late. You think I didn't know? That was the most brazen, chutzpahdik thing that's ever happened. So the mother looks at the Rebbe and says, I want to tell you something. You're my son's favorite teacher. You're his favorite Rebbe that he's ever had. Last night we bought him a new watch. He couldn't wait to show it to you. You walked into class and he showed you the watch and you slapped him across the face.
Wow, it's terrible.
I told you it's a terrible story. I told you you'll love it, right? So right. So at the end of the story was the Rebbe then took the kid out for pizza. So like I made sure to what do you call it? Make sure to don't jump to conclusions. That's what the Torah is teaching over here. Isn't that horrible? Santiago, it's a good story, yeah? It's a good story. So
how do you be fluent on a spaceship? That's what I'm wondering.
She asked a lot of shilas, by the way. That teacher, before she applied, the frum teacher, she had to ask shilas. First of all, there's a problem with yichud. There's a problem with yichud. There's a problem with yichud. There's a problem with Shabbos. There's a problem with this, problem with that. There were 10,000 people applied for it. 10,000 people applied for it. Now, you go to a star's a little dot. The closer you get to it, the bigger the star becomes. The better you get to know a Torah Jew, the bigger the person becomes. And that's what you only find out at the eulogy. Then you find out, wow, really? Oh, I didn't know. Wow, that too he did? Well, I had no idea. What, he used to put away all the Siddurim in the shul every day? I know the Siddur were organized. I never knew who did it. He's the guy who did it. Unfortunately, that's what you find out. And Rabbi Victor Miller once said that a person has to live their life the way they like to be eulogized. If a person, it's a very good motivation. What would you like to have them say about us or write on our tombstone? Well, you got to live that way. They're not going to write wonderful things if a person wasn't wonderful. A person has to live their life that way. So a star, first of all, is, we're compared to stars because the more you get to know a Jew, the bigger he becomes, not the smaller. Yeah, Meir, good.
Just like when a person does something good and no one gets to know what they do, she's also very, very...
What's, I didn't think
no one gets to know, like let's say you do certain things so that no one gets to know that you're really...
That's a wonderful, wonderful mitzvah, and then maybe people won't find out about it. But in general, we look at other people and say, yeah, he's an average guy, he's an average guy, and he's an average guy. And you'll find out that a person who's focused on growth, I say a Torah Jew, I mean a Torah Jew who's focused on growth, there is no such thing as an average Jew. No Jew is average. Because a person who's focused on growth is doing things every single day. Remember, we don't see all the times that the husband washed the dishes for his wife properly without being asked. Using soap, David. Right? We don't see that. We don't see all the times that the husband went on Motzei Shabbos and he started scrubbing crusted cholent pots. That we've never seen. Don't worry, my wife's never seen it either. No, don't worry. You don't see all the times you've given people rides, or all the times you've said something positive to somebody and changed their mood because you compliment them. We don't see that. Only the Ribono Shalom sees. But there are a lot of things that you find out because people are afraid to say, especially men. Women are always complimenting each other. Oh, you're wonderful. Oh, you look so nice. Men are always like, no. Nobody ever comes up and says, hey, wow, that was really sharp what you said in Shir today. Men are a little too, you feel a little too, what do you call it, right? Wow, that's a really nice shirt. Men aren't like that. The women are always doing that. I had this lady once called up. Sorry. This lady calls up. She goes, hello, Rabbi Kaplan. Can I speak to your wonderful wife? I said, well, my wonderful wife is at home. My other wife is home. We don't speak to her. There's silence on the end of the phone. But that's how they talk to each other. Oh, you look so wonderful. Which is great. That's what we're meant to do with our mouths. All right? That's idea number one. Idea number two. It's happened more than once, by the way. It's happened more than I love doing that. I wait for my opportunity. Hello, is your lovely wife home? No, my regular wife is home. Or somebody calls her, can I speak to the Rebbitzin? Ain't no Rebbitzins around here. My wife is here if you want to talk to her. So what do you call it? Now, there's another idea. That's idea number one. Idea number two, and this is what I find is a phenomenal idea, not my idea, obviously, is a phenomenal idea. I think Rav Shimon Schwab says this. When did the stars come into existence? So you remember there's a famous medrash. I've mentioned this many times before. The medrash says that Hashem created the two Me'oros HaGedolim, the two big lights. And the moon went to Hashem and said, you can't have two kings with one crown. How could you have two kings with one crown? So Hashem said to the moon, L'chi u'ma'ati esatzmech. Go and reduce yourself. Said to the moon, reduce yourself. So the moon wasn't too happy about that. Like, that's not exactly where I was going with this, And Hashem says, reduce yourself. So the moon is now reduced. But the moon was upset. So what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu give the moon in order to appease it, to make it feel a little bit better? He created the stars and said, you'll be in charge of the stars. At night, you have all the stars. You're the king over the stars. That means the very inception of stars was in order that the moon, that his suffering, his pain should be reduced. The moon should feel good. We're compared to stars because our job in life is to make other people feel good. That's our job. That's why we're compared to stars. And I always used to tell people, phones now are completely out of control. Phones are nowadays. But it used to be that there's a telephone. You didn't speak on the phone as much when it was attached to the wall. And you made phone calls there, but you didn't. It wasn't like every minute you're on the phone. I used to tell people in the old days, when you're on a phone, ask yourself when you get off the phone. It works nowadays, and certainly in any in a personal interaction. Ask yourself one question. The person I spoke to or the person I interacted with just now, did that person walk away from me feeling uplifted and feeling it was a good experience or a negative experience? Just ask yourself that question. And that's an indication in life what it should be when we're talking to somebody else or we're dealing with somebody else. Did that person walk away from me feeling good or better about himself or not? And if he didn't feel better about himself, if he felt worse about himself, then I'm certainly no good. But if he didn't feel better about himself, then I did not maximize my potential as a star. And my job as a star is to help that other people should feel good. That's what the Torah is telling us over here. The sensitivity that we have to have for other people, and they have to have other people, our job in life is to make other people feel good. Okay, let's go on. Take a look now at Pasuk. Where is it? One second. I want to show you. Pasuk Chaf Beis. So now Moshe Rabbeinu starts going through the entire story. He hired judges. for the Jewish people. And then he starts reviewing what happened in with the sin, the mishap with the spies. On page 944, fourth line from the top. Vatikruvun elai kulchem, you all approached me. Vatomru nishlacha anoshim lefanenu, let us send men before us. V'yachperu lanu es haaretz, and they will, They will spy out the land. V'yashivu asanu dovar es haderech asher nale b'veserem asher novu aleihem. So you approached me. In the original story of the spies, it just says Moshe sent the spies. Here the Torah fills in what's missing. The people actually asked for Moshe Rabbeinu. And what was his response? Vayitav be'enai hadover. Yeah, I agreed to the idea. So Rashi points out, Moshe Rabbeinu, what does he mean agreed to the idea? He agreed to the idea of spies? Moshe Rabbeinu first told the people, listen, yeah, you want to send spies, it's a good land. And he tried to demonstrate a certain confidence. What happens for a salesman if you come over to me and you ask me about a car, and you say to me, would I be able to run this car up to 60 miles an hour? You can get this baby up to 80 miles an hour, right? And does it have comfortable seats? You show me a seat that's more comfortable. The more I talk about it, you don't even need to test it. You say, all right, I'll take it. I'll take it. The salesman is so confident about his product, he'll take it. So Moshe Rabbeinu felt that psychologically that's what he's going to do. He'll say, yeah, go ahead, I'll call your bluff. Yeah, go ahead, send spies. Yeah, go ahead. I have nothing to hide over here. Figuring the people say, well, if he's not hiding anything, then we don't really need the spies. The problem is that they said, no, okay, good. We'll say it didn't work the way Moshe Rabbeinu wanted it to work. So they called his bluff. Now, take a look at Rashi here. On Pasuk Chav Beis. Rashi says, first Rashi on the page, at 944. Vatikru elai kulchem bi'erbuvia. You all gathered in like a disorganized mass, like a bunch of anarchists. Ulahalanu, it's a big word nowadays. In Israel. Ulahalanu, and that's referring to the Knesset. Ulahalanu Omer, and later on it says, Vatikruvun elai kol roshe shivtechem v'ziknechem. Now I want you to look further. I want you to look up ahead. What this pasuk is referring to. Later on it says, you all approached. Osa kreva haisa hogenes. When you approached at Har Sinai and you said, whoa, Hashem has showed us his glory, maybe we go, it's too much for us. We want you speak to us, Moshe Rabbeinu. There you approach in a very proper way. Yeladim mechabdim es zakenim. The younger ones saying to the older ones, no, you go first. Visholchum lifnehem. Uzakenim mechabdim es haroshim. And the elders honored the chiefs. Leilech lifnehem. Aval kan vatikru elai kulchem birbuvia. Here you came in one big chaotic mass. Yeladim dochafim es hazakenim. The kids are pushing the elders. Zakenim dochafim es haroshim. So Rashi says that Moshe Rabbeinu over here. Now let's look at the pasuk again. The pasuk here says like this. Fourth line from the top. Pay attention carefully because we're going to compare it to the other pasuk. You all approached me, says Rashi. What was he saying to them? Here you approached me in a mass. Here you approached me in a chaotic mass, and you're pushing each other, pushing and shoving, and with no rhyme or reason. Whereas later on, everything was very well organized. Ooh, the younger are honoring the elders, and so on. Now, turn ahead for a second. I wanted you to show the pasuk again. Turn to chapter 5, verse 20. It's on page, keep your finger on the place here.
970.
What page?
970.
970. So this is right after they hear the Ten Commandments. It's 7 lines to the bottom of the page. Vayihi b'shamachem. That's 7 lines to the bottom. Vayihi k'shamachem es hakol mitoch hachoshech. When you heard Hashem's voice, the har boer ba'esh, the mountain burning with fire. Vatikru elai kol roshei shivtechem v'ziknechem. You all approached in a nice order. The young honoring the elders honoring the chiefs. Vatomru, and you said, Hein heranu Hashem lekedas kodas gadol es kol shavani toch ha'esh. Hayom azarenu ki yadaber Elokim es ha'odav v'chai. Why should we die? We can't hear Hashem's voice. We need to hear your voice. So the commentaries point out over here, this is all part of the rebuke. This is a two-pronged rebuke. The first rebuke is when it came to the spies, you came pushing in a mass, in a panicked mass. And yet when it comes to hearing Torah, then all of a sudden you were very, very polite. Oh yeah, no, yeah. That's part of the criticism. Why were they all in a panic? Why were they all panicked with no manners when it came to sending the spies? Because that was important to them. When something, if I throw a $100 bill on this table over here, and I say, whoever gets it first can keep it. I throw a $100 bill on the floor. No, go ahead. You go before me. You're a Kohen. Somehow I think not. And it's good. Man, throw up a whole bunch of money. Right? You're gonna look like a bunch of leftist protesters. That's what you're gonna look like, right? Yet, if I would say, look, there's one lulav here for Sukkot. Only one person is going to be able to get the lulav. Well, no, you go ahead, you take it. Yeah, you take it. Oh, why the lulav? All of a sudden, by lulav, now everybody's becoming respectful? The answer is, I don't know if you've ever been to a tish. I think I've been in one tish in my life. I haven't seen it, actually, but I've been told that, have you ever been to a tish? They actually throw the kugel or something, or the fish or something. There's a little bit of grabbing over there. There's some grabbing, there's an urgency. To their credit, I don't say you should grab and push and jostle, but to their credit, they feel that it's important because the Rebbe touched it, or he took a bite out of it, or whatever he blessed it, or whatever it was that he did. So to their credit, it's important. How do you see that something's important? Imagine, when you're waiting for a bus for about 20 minutes in the hot sun, and there's a crowd at the bus. There's a crowd at the bus like a stadium, right? And the bus pulls up. It's not like, no, please, whoever could get in there. It looks like pushing. But it looks like the subway system in Japan, where they wear the gloves and push people they cram them onto the subway. Why? Because that's important. I got to get some. This is important. This is the criticism. If you're already going to push, when you should be pushing? You should be pushing for Torah. That's when you should be pushing. No, when it comes to the Torah, it's like, no, you go first. No, you go first. That means it just wasn't there. That's part of the criticism. By the way, having said that, don't push ever. Don't push for Torah, and don't push for the bus, and don't push at the tish, and don't push ever, right? We're not advocating pushing under any circumstances. But Moshe Rabbeinu is saying to the Jewish people, that's the criticism. The criticism is, here you pushed and here you didn't. That not only you pushed for the spies, but it shows what your priorities were in life. I just want to show you one last point. This is all the way on Pasuk Mem Daled. Take a look on page 946. And if you don't hear the timelessness of Torah over here, then you're just not up on current events. And Moshe Rabbeinu is talking about the various battles. And then on page 946, 5 lines from the bottom. Vayetze ha'amori ha'yoshev b'harahu likraschem. You guys decided you're going to go up and you're going to go into the land. Remember the incident when after the spies came back and they're told that they're going to be in the desert for 40 years. So a group of people says, no, we're going in. We're sorry, we're going in now. And they try going up the mountain. Moshe Rabbeinu says, not going to work. And they go up the mountain and then they get smitten by the Amoris. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Vayetze ha'amori ha'yoshev b'harahu likraschem. The Amoris dwelling on the mountain, they came out. Vayirdufu eschem. They chased you. Ka'asher ta'asena hadvorim. They chase you like bees. Vayaksu eschem b'seir ad chorma. They smote you. How do you say it? Smit or smote? Smote. How does he translate it?
Went out against you.
They went out. That's all he says.
And struck you.
They struck you down before you were struck down before your enemies. Okay, I like smote, but you got smitten. Okay, now. Take a look around. So the Amoris who went and smited them are compared to bees. Now take a look at Rashi over here. On 44. Left column, second line from the top. Kasher ta'asena hadvorim. Left column, second line from the top, page 946. If you find it, please show the person next to you. Kasher ta'asena hadvorim. What's the comparison? Why are the Amoris compared? Why are the Amoris compared to bees? Mahadvora azos, just like a bee, keshehimaka esa adam, when it stings a person, miyad mesa, it immediately dies. Avheim kshehayu nogim bachem miyad mesim. The Amoris killed you, but they immediately died. Now I got a question. Imagine you're an Amori, right? You're Ralph the Amori. And you looked at your buddy over there. There's Charlie the Amori who just stabbed the Jew to death, and Charlie dropped dead. Then you look over there, there's Frank the Amori, and he stabs the Jew and he drops dead. At a certain point, you see a pattern emerging over here. You know, how many would it take you to see? He kills the Jew, but he dies. He kills the Jew, but he dies. What something's going on. So what happened to the 10th Amori? And he went ahead and he did it anyway. What happened to the 100th Amori, the 1000th? They got to kill a lot of Jews here. So what do you see? The Amori felt, I don't care if I die, as long as I take out a Jew. Right? Sound familiar? Right? Unfortunately, Israel's been subject to suicide bombers. Right? Suicide bomber. Can you imagine a guy's a suicide? He doesn't care as long as he kills a Jew. That's a timeless. It's not that then. This is now. The Torah is telling you what's going to be happening all the time. It happened then and it happens now. That's the timelessness of the Torah. Torah is not limited to any time, any one time or place. The Torah is everything, everywhere, at all times. So, Baruch Hashem, we try to avoid it, and Kodesh Baruch Hu protects us. That's what the Torah is telling you over here. And a person has to understand that when you're learning Torah, you're not learning about what happened then. It's not something that's then. It did happen then, but anything that happened then, it's always repeated. Even Avram Avinu goes into the land of Israel, and it's expensive, and there's a famine. Finances are tough, right? And he's got to buy a grave plot for his wife, which is the cheapest, the worst soil, and it's an exorbitant price. And then you see what everything happens in Israel. Nothing. You come to here, they say how to make a small fortune in Israel. You come here with a big fortune. That's such an old Jewish joke, Blake. I can't believe you laughed. But that's what the Torah says. It's not something that just happened to them. That's how it's always been, and that's how Kodesh Baruch Hu wants it. All right.